guys, it's Jen, and today we get to look into Miss Pandaria's Scholomance Heroic. This one's really cool, you guys. They've completely redesigned it as well, and have done a lot of changes, so it's really cool to kind of go through again to see. For those of you who don't really know what Scholomance is, and didn't get the luxury of like trying this out before they'll do these changes and things like that, it was actually once owned by the noble Barov family. Kel'Thuzad, for those of you who remember Nax and things like that, he actually came to the Barov family with a promise of immortality if they'd served the Lich King. The Barov family was all about this immortality deal, so they went along with it, and they also donated Scholomance to the Cult of the Damned. The Barov family was then turned on and killed, allowing Scholomance to be turned into a school for necromancy, which you guys will see here. It's where we find school in session, and a few of the courses. If you guys go through the bosses and things like that, you'll be able to see some of the courses that they're teaching. And it's all about like the really nerdy lore aspect of it. I'm sure you guys will totally pay attention. So the first boss that we're going to encounter is Instructor Chillheart. Chillheart journeyed from Northrend to teach new necromancers discipline and harshly punish those who disappointed her. She uses the libraries to deadly effect, and it gives us our first course of Introduction to the Dark Arts. So she has a few abilities that we're going to want to watch out for. The first one is called Ice Wave, and she will summon a wave of ice that slowly sweeps across the room, instantly killing any player that touches it. Believe me, I've tried. I tried to run through it one time to see if it worked, and no, you die. Don't do it. Her next ability she can do is called Rack Soul, and she will shatter the soul of a player, inflicting 15,000 shadow damage every second for 10 seconds. When this expires, it actually jumps to another player. She will also do Ice Wrath, where she will wreathe a player in ice for 10 seconds, causing them to inflict 15,000 frost damage to all their allies within 2 yards every second. So you'll just want to be a little bit spread out. It's not that big of a deal. She also does Touch of the Grave, which causes her next 10 melee attacks to inflict an additional 30,000 frost damage. And lastly, Frigid Grasp, where she will basically summon an ice at the ground of a player, and it will inflict 75,000 frost damage. So when she dies, the foul magic that animated her escapes back into her phylactery. Her soul will also begin to animate the books, as you guys can see around here. So there's 3 different schools of magic that you guys want to watch out for. The first one being an arcane bomb. And so this will explode on impact, inflicting 65,000 arcane damage to all players within 2 yards. You can see that they're exploding on the ground. The next books do a burn ability, which will cause 65,000 fire damage to all players within 2 yards of it. And then the last one you saw there was a Shadow Bolt, where the books will summon Shadow Bolts for 45,000 damage on those. The redesign is actually really nice, you guys. I like it. Many of you know, if you have done a lot of these dungeons earlier on, the dungeons took forever, and especially when you were a lower level. Like back in vanilla, when you were doing this at level 50 plus, like it was nice because like you were actually working on gear, and 60 was your max level. And then as you know, time went on and levels got higher and things like that, you know, it just was more of a pain to do these. So it's really awesome that we'll be able to you know, be reintroduced to doing these older dungeons that a lot of people really liked. And with that, we're actually reintroduced to a boss that had been here previously before. This is Jandice Barov. Barov's spirit lurked in the recesses of Scholomance for years, but now she's taken a more active role in educating the next generation. She has a vast knowledge of illusions, thus kind of introducing us to this next course of Advanced Illusions. So here are some of her abilities. She does Wondrous Rapidity. As you can see, she will rear her staff back with a flash of wondrous arcane force and unleash a barrage of attacks, inflicting 75,000 arcane damage in a cone in front of her, so don't be in front of her. She will also do an ability called Gravity Flux, which will create a gravity distortion field that inflicts 100,000 shadow damage to all enemies who enter it and knock them back, causing them to be briefly blinded. Just watch out for those. You'll see her casting it and just kind of run out of the way. Her next ability is called Phantasmal Images. So at 66 and 33% health, Jandice will dissipate into thin air and create multiple illusions of herself. So you have to destroy these. As you're destroying them, if it's not her image that you're destroying, it will inflict 30,000 arcane damage. So defeating the image that she's kind of hiding behind will bring her out. While she's hiding behind it, though, as you guys can see her spinning around, she will do an ability called Whirl of Illusion. And so it will have her dancing around in a circle, and it will inflict 20,000 arcane damage to all enemies every second. So just make sure that, you know, as you're trying to kill these ads, that you're finding the right one to attack with that. And that's basically all she does. We got her down fairly easy. Make sure you have mana, unlike me there. I was running a little bit low. But it was, you know, fairly easy. We got her down. Not a problem. Alright, you guys, so in this next room here, this is like where I got all super geek moded out about having Lillian Voss as part of this dungeon. We're going to find her in here, Scholomance, as well as Scarlet Monastery. So if you guys want to know a little bit of history on exactly who Lillian is, she was once a member of the Scarlet Crusade, and her father is a high priest within that crusade. His name is Benedictus Voss. She later ended up dying and was raised by the Forsaken's Valkyr, so she became an undead. She's like completely afraid of this new undead state and ends up running away from the Forsaken, and tries to find her father. The thing was that she was captured, of course, being an undead. The Scarlet Crusade had no idea what was going on, so they sent word to her father that they found her and that she was an undead. And he actually ordered his daughter to be killed because she was infected, and it was gross. Once Lillian found this out, it sent her into a fit of rage, and she broke out of her little prison cell and killed everybody. Everyone who was there keeping her prisoner, she would kill them in like a fiery purple flame of death. And so we later found out that she finds out where her father is, and she basically gives him a good old chokehold and strangles him to death. So after that, Lillian still has a hard time kind of coming to terms with what she has become. So she goes off on her own and kills any Scarlet Crusade that she comes across. You guys, like, if you go back to Western Plaguelands and things like that, you'll find a lot of the Scarlet Crusade who are like burning in purple fire, and that's your sign that Lillian was the cause of their death. So we come across her here, and she's in combat with the Dark Master Gandling, and he's basically just, you know, taunting her as she goes throughout battling these undead. This is also the room, though, where we come across Rattlegore. That's right. Rattlegore was actually thought to have been destroyed in Anderhall, but Gandling immediately began preparations to reanimate the clattering terror so that he could guard against intruders like us. The Dark Master also sought to make Rattlegore more ferocious than ever, so he imbued him with the insatiable desire to harvest new raw material from his enemies, which explains all the bones and everything around. This is where we will be taught the course of Reanimation 101, naturally. So Rattlegore has a few abilities that we're going to want to watch out for. He does rusting, and this is where his dull blades will rust with each successful melee attack, increasing his damage by 5%, but it lowers his attack speed also by 5% and his movement speed by 5%. So this lasts for 15 seconds, and it stacks. So he's going to hit harder over time, but it's going to be a lot slower, and he's going to move slower and things like that. He also does an ability called Bone Spike, which will launch a powerful spike of bone at a random player and inflicts 150 physical damage. It also knocks you back a great distance. As you can see, our mage got hit a few times because he didn't know what to do. However, if you look around in these little pits of bones, you will see something called a bone pile. If you grab that, you gain a buff called Bone Armor, and this will absorb the effect of the Bone Spike. So just make sure you guys grab that. And then his last ability that you can see within these bone piles is called Soul Flame, and this will periodically engulf a section of the room in Soul Flame, inflicting 80,000 fire damage every half second, and it grows larger over time. So just make sure you guys watch out for that as well. Other than that, he's a pretty easy kill. Just as long as you guys are picking up those bone piles for your bone armor buff, he'll be an easy kill. He's not bad at all. So, you guys thought that might have been the last that we saw of Lillian. It's actually not. It's not at all. We go through this room and kill this trash. These guys are kind of funny, actually. You want to kill the appendages, and they start spewing that gross, like, meat juice. You guys, it's really nasty. But that's just the one way to take those guys down. The other ads are super easy to kill as well. So you're not going to want to really worry too much about these. What you want to worry about, though, is in the other room here, and it's Lillian. So she, again, is being taunted and tormented by Dark Master Gandling. We find her face to face with him when Gandling graciously decides to show Voss how to embrace her grim fate. So the anger and rune blades that she once directed at the school are now turned toward Gandling's enemies, which is us. And this is where Gandling will teach us the course of re-education through this fight. So there's a few stages that you guys will want to look out for. The first stage here, she will do Shadow Sheave, which will allow Lillian to leap onto a player and strike them with both rune blades, inflicting 60,000 shadow damage within 8 yards of yourself and then any other player within that range. Her next ability is Death Grasp, where she will pull you into her location. That's not too bad. What you have to look out for is the Dark Blaze ability, where she will summon a patch of dark fire at the player's location, inflicting 10,000 fire damage every half second. So you guys are going to want to run around the room and make sure you drop those flames, you know, just away and not just stand in them, because that will kill you. At the second stage here, at 50%, she will be ripped apart from her soul, and her soul will actually be the one to turn against you. The abilities that she has through this phase is called Blazing Soul, where her soul will blaze with her barely contained hatred and will periodically inflict 15,000 fire damage to all players. You'll see those little flame orbs come flying out at you. She also does Unleashed Anguish, which will, when a player is within melee distance, she will strike out at them. This will cause Blazing Soul to happen, and it will make her movement speed significantly reduced. So you almost want her to hit you, but also have the healer be aware that you're going to receive the Blazing Soul ability as well. She will also do Fixate Anger, which Lillian's soul will fixate on a player. She will only attempt to attack that player and cannot be taunted. So you're just going to want to kind of move her around the room, kite her if you have those eyes on you. Just watch out for that. When she reaches 25%, her soul and her physical body will begin to fight together. So you're going to want to watch out for both abilities that you saw within kind of the first two parts. So her soul's still going to be fixating on you, and she'll still be coming after you in that way, but also her physical body will come and do those abilities. As you can see, the flame on the floor, she will jump on people, things like that. The very last end stage is when Lillian's physical body reaches 1% health. She musters all the strength she has to recombine with her soul for the final assault on Gandling. And of course, he's a pansy and he ends up running away. So that is the fight there for you. You leave her as she's, you know, near death. And poor Lillian, she's like my favorite NPC. But we continue on. We come into this. It's kind of like a mini boss, you guys. It's not an actual boss. His name is Professor Slate. He has a few abilities as well that I can let you know about, but I wasn't able to find exact numbers on damage and things like that to expect. But here are a few things that he does. He does a toxic potion, which has a 40-yard range. You guys will see it. It's a pool of acid that collects on the floor, and you'll just want to step out of that. It does periodic damage the more you stand in it, of course. He will also do an ability called Fire Breath Potion, which will deal damage to the tank or anybody who is in front of him. So just make sure the tank faces him away from the party. He will rend melee range, which will inflict physical damage to an enemy every 3 seconds for 15 seconds. And then when he reaches 30% health, he uses a potion of brutish force, and his damage will be increased by 50% for 2 minutes. You know, that's just the only time where the tank really actually started to take somewhat damage, like some damage that seemed like it might have been a little scary. So he's really easy, you guys. What he does give you, though, if you can see, I turned into this undead guy, is a potion. It's called the Polyformic Acid Potion, and it allows your attacks and spells to have a chance to cause additional nature damage to the Dark Master and his minions. So you want to grab that. I don't think anybody in our party really knew what it was. But yes, grab that. You'll do additional damage to this last boss here, and it's Dark Master Gandling. Oh my gosh. The Dark Master was in a foul mood in light of the recent defeat of Anderhall. So he's really harsh on his students. If they don't try to impress him, they are forced to do and become lab work. So, you know, his little studies and that kind of stuff, that becomes of them. This is where he teaches us our final course in Advanced Studies. So, his abilities are Incinerate, which will deal 35,000 fire damage to his target. He also does Immolate, which will burn an enemy for 35,000 fire damage, and then also inflict 10,000 additional fire damage every 3 seconds for 21 seconds. Gandling also has an ability called Rise, and this is when your tank, if he is summoned outside of the room, he will summon a legion of failed students to fight for him. These students will swarm the area and fight anything that they can. While channeling this spell, the Dark Master takes 50% less damage. And so you just want to attack those failed students and get them down as fast as possible so that you can focus back onto Dark Master Gandling. So what he does is he does an ability called Harsh Lesson, where he will teleport a random player to one of the study rooms for a harsh lesson. Within these study rooms, there are a few different mobs that you'll come across. The first one are the expired test subjects, and these guys attack anyone who enters the room. And then you also have fresh test subjects who are they're kept alive, they're friendly, it looks like, but they can afflict an ability called Explosive Pain, which will inflict excruciating pain and explodes when dispelled, inflicting 50,000 shadow damage to expired test subjects within 8 yards. So if you're like a healer or things like that, you can dispel this off of them, or purge it, whatever it is, I guess. And that will cause damage as well to those guys. But yeah, this boss was fairly easy. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and thanks for watching. I will see you guys later.